Hello and welcome back to K-Drama Rants. My name is Melanie and I like to rant about K-dramas. Today we're getting into part 3 of Mr. Sunshine. Last week, Hee-sung went through a bit of an existential crisis, trying to figure out what's going on with his parents, Eugene, Ishin. He's very confused. Eugene got his hands on evidence of Ko-jung's slush fund, and Ishin confessed to Eugene that she liked him. They hug, and once she confesses, they hug. Once they're done, Ishin invites her surrogate parents in to meet Eugene at the apothecary, their secret meeting place. Haengnang and Haman waste no time in letting Eugene know that they are the protectors of Ishin, and he best be on his best behavior. And Ishin goes outside to change into her marksman disguise. Did she go outside in public? Did she change in public? Was it inside the palanquin? Is there enough space inside the palanquin to change? I don't know. It's not making a lot of sense to me, but it doesn't matter. The two of them get on a rickshaw together and awkwardly avoid each other. Cuties. They end up at the hotel, not in the way that you or I would end up at a hotel with a potential romantic partner. That's not how they end up there. She's there to pick up the face mask that he took from her. Once they arrive, Ishin goes upstairs directly to avoid getting recognized, and Eugene grabs the key to his room with Hina, who offers to cook the herbal medicine that he's carrying and was given to him by Haman to make it look like he actually went to the apothecary for something rather than to meet with someone. Hee-sung goes to the tailor and orders another suit like the ones that Ishin has been commissioning to be made in his size instead. Ishin and Eugene listen to the music box in his room after some light flirting, and when Hina walks past, she makes a note of it because, why are two grown men listening to a music box in one of their rooms? Quite peculiar. The tune is actually Greensleeves, which I hadn't noticed before because I'm used to hearing it played on a lute. It has a different vibe. Ishin calls it a sad tune, and you might recognize the song too. It's very popular. It's late medieval or early Renaissance. I'm unsure what the point in time is, and it tells the story of a man who is obsessed with Lady Greensleeves and will not stop giving her stuff, but she does not reciprocate in any way his attention. Bernadette Banner recently came out with a video on recreating the garments in the song and learning more about the song itself. It's so worth a watch to me. Anyway, Eugene tells her how he'd cried when he'd seen it the first time, and he doesn't listen to it often. He only did so recently because he was going through something, concerned that somebody he knows got hurt. I wonder who he's talking about. They discuss how they know that Dongmae knew she was her when he shot her. Still wild to me that he did that, but she's fairly certain that Dongmae would not betray her identity. Eugene tells her to stop donning her disguise and live like a vibrant flower as he remembers women aspiring to when he was young. Ishin has made up her mind though. She will live vibrantly, but as a flame, and she's doing what she thinks is right, even if she burns out. Then this man has the audacity to wonder how he is prioritized in her life. This isn't about you, Eugene, but at least he recognizes that he might have to jump in the flame with her. Ishin goes to leave, but he stops her because her fiancé is staying next door, but he's not arrived yet. This is news to her, and he is ecstatic to learn that Eugene knows Ishin better than Hee-sung because she has no idea where he's staying. Ishin heads out anyway, but instead of leaving through the stairs, she jumps out of a third-story balcony on an injured calf. Yup. Believable. She's almost found out on her walk out, but Eugene throws a coin at the man and it hits him in the head, so he's distracted and doesn't notice Ishin. Dongmae admits to one of his cronies that he recognized someone at Taemulpo Harbor. However, he does not bring Ishin up. But we do get a scene of him going after another random member of the righteous army, an A-frame coolie. I don't know how derogative that word is. It's a brand new term for me. It is a pejorative term for low-wage laborers, usually of Indian or Chinese descent. I will not be using it again because I don't actually know the extent to which that word is still used, but I just wanted to define it. Dong-mi interrogates the man, under threat, obviously, to give him a name, but the man has strong convictions. Dong-mi speculates that the righteous army must be paying a lot, because why else would anyone keep it a secret? So he wants in, but the man lays it out for him. Many countries have plundered Joseon, and he'll be damned if they take Joseon itself, too. Yeah, exactly. That makes total sense to me. They don't turn him in, but they tell him to run far away unless he wants to die. Instead, Dong-mi takes the past owner of the brothel to the Japanese legation, the Japanese minister. He phrases it as a fair deal since the righteous army has fled by land, and this guy hired a spy, so he must pay. Dong-mi walks in on Hina taking a bath. She's wondering about the small man that visited Eugene earlier, how she saw him come in, but she didn't see him leave. Dong-mi is there because he wants to talk about his feelings about the man he just let go. The man was willing to die for this country. Why? Same reason you didn't kill Ishin and Temulpo, babes. There are more important things in staying alive. Hee-sung and S-sun both lose all of their money gambling at the hotel and find each other at the pawn shop afterwards. Apparently, they didn't know each other, and I could have sworn that they did based on how S-sun treated him and how nonchalant she was around him compared to all the other girlies at the gambling den. They introduce themselves to each other in front of the pawn shop, waiting for the owners to open the door. And Hee-sung literally tries to hide his face behind his hat once he realizes that his future sister-in-law has seen him gamble. He is so embarrassed. S-sun immediately goes to blab on her cousin's fiance, so S-in, who's trying to study English, has to quickly hide everything, like all of her study materials, because damn, does S-sun suck. She can't, keep that to herself. Ishin hears her cousin out, and instead of giving her the shocked or angry reaction that S-sun was looking for, she calmly throws it back in her cousin's face. So, you must have met him at the gambling den and the pawn shop. I think I'm gonna tell your mom. So, S-sun promptly hightails it out of there. Hina sends a maid with the herbal medicine up to Eugene, and the maid insists that he drink it immediately and return the bowl promptly. But what she really wants is to take a look at Eugene's room to see if the strange man is still in there. Eugene goes to Hina as he's realized something. Hina and Ishin are very similar, as in Hina is also learning how to defend herself, but Hina is a lone woman in the world, which is much harder at this time. He asks her if she works for the government, pointing out how she had told him to use the interpreter at the palace instead of talking himself. She won't admit to anything and just wants to know whether the interpreter spoke in favor of Japan, which makes me wonder, where do her loyalties lie? Speaking of the interpreter, the advisor to whom Eugene told about the interpreter meets the interpreter in the cover of night in the forest. He gets his confirmation that the interpreter is interpreting in favor of Japan on Wonek's behalf, and he slashes the interpreter's throat. Yeah, reasonable. Eugene waits for Il-shik's report at a restaurant. He's dressed as Kwon-soo, the U.S. legation interpreter, to disguise himself. He tells Eugene of the advisor's actions, and the advisor's name is Lee Dong-mun. Eugene might be rethinking his path to lead Joseon to its demise if people keep defending it. Ishin goes to the hotel to meet with Hee-sung. He's not up yet, so Hina has her taste some coffee. She thinks it's too bitter, and I agree with you, baby girl. Hina says a few things that make it sound like she knows that Ishin is part of the righteous army, but she doesn't dwell on it too much. What she's really concerned with is Eugene, and it looks like Ishin is there to break off her engagement to the man that would make it so that Eugene couldn't be with Ishin, therefore leaving Ishin for Hina. Ishin doesn't get a chance to respond because Heesong's boyishly charming self walks into the dining room, so it's their turn to talk. He knows she's there to break off their engagement. However, their families will not just accept this, and he's not one to back down from a fight. So, he will not give her what she wants. He doesn't really have career ambitions on which he can focus his energy. He just wants to be alive, and boy, do I get it. Since neither of them backs down, he proposes that they become friends, just for the day, and they play billiards. Heesong drinks by himself at the bar until Dongmi shows up and sits with him, since there are no seats at this bar. Heesong asks him why he does what he does, and Dongmi quickly retorts with, "Why do you do nothing?" Heesong's got jokes though. He's like, "If I were to do anything, I'd be great at it, so it's better if I don't do anything at all." Duh. Heesong offers Dongmi to pour his drink, but Dongmi stops him. It's customary to not pour your own drink, so it's like Dongmi saying, "I'm not going to do it for you, so don't even bother." The third boy pulls up, and he has to sit with the rest of the Entangled with Ishin crew. Eugene asks if Dongmi's found his man with the limp, which triggers Heesong's memory of Ishin limping while they were playing earlier, and he's putting the pieces together. Eugene points Dongmi to Wanik, but Dongmi dismisses him because the man was young. Heesong leaves before the other men, and he limps his way out. Dongmi calls out to him that it's the wrong leg as he leaves. He asks Eugene if Heesong understands what he's doing, and Eugene confirms it, blatantly states that it behooves them for the culprit to be Wanik, and not whoever else it might be. There was a brief second during which I had the thought that Heesong's the one who'll die in the show, and I don't think I'm going to be normal about it if that is the case. Ishin sits up at night listening to the music box that Eugene lent her. Eugene, next day, meets up with Seunggu. He has his next target in Lee Se-hun, the Minister of Foreign Affairs who got his mom killed. He wants to know if Seunggu's in. Ishin goes to visit Eugene with the excuse of wanting him to help her translate a sentence to English. It says, "보고 싶었어?" or "I missed you." She shows it to him, and he makes a big deal about it being easy, but doesn't answer the translation question. So she remembers what he'd said about knowing how to read and tells him to just read the sentence in Korean, and his refusal confirms it to her. He really doesn't know how to read Korean. It would genuinely take so little effort for you, Eugene. Please. Ishin leaves, but before Haengnang can go with the rest of them, Eugene asks what the medicinal herbs are for. Turns out they're not for ingestion, but rather to draw out toxins through your feet. Eugene is disgusted. It's not like you drank feet water, babes. At worst, you ingested a slightly toxic herb, since you're not dead or ill. It's not that bad. Another night, all the interpreters gather to talk about how the English interpreter is dead. The French one is tasked to go to Se-hun, Minister of Foreign Affairs, to report it. So that he does. Plus, he tells Se-hun that the interpreters are now gathering under Wanik. He had slapped Se-hun in the face and now seems to hold more power since he's the right-hand man of the current Prime Minister of Japan, Ito Hirobumi. So Se-hun figures it makes sense for him to ally himself with Wanik and calls on Wanik after making his plan. He kneels before Wanik, talking about how he's going to turn for Japan. He has brought his mistress as a present, but Wanik is having too much fun making this man who would have been higher up in the hierarchy bow down to him. Eugene grabs the slush fund certificate from the Tweedles, and on his way, he meets Se-hun carried around on his horse once again. The palanquin bearers run away at the sight. Eugene steps off his horse, takes down his guards, and threatens Se-hun's life. He wakes Se-hun up to who he and his mom are. The man tries to beg for his life, but Eugene tells him to stop because the plan is to kill him later, and if he begs now, that's gonna make him want to do it now. Se-hun makes it home and finds his gold stores stolen. He thinks it's the woman, his mistress, who took it, so he runs after her, but he's shot at by Eugene and Seung-gu when he steps outside. He runs back inside to find his pistol and calls his servant to go find the police. He doesn't know how to use the pistol though and shoots a young girl. He blames her for standing there and tries to order who looks to be her dad to go call the police. No one's particularly jazzed of his servants to help him out, and the man wants to get the girl to a physician, obviously. While this goes down, Eugene goes into the room where Sehun got his pistol and drops the certificate in Eunsan's vase. Tong-moon steps into the residence. He's there to arrest Sehun and find the certificate. Eugene had planned with him how this was going to go down. He wants Sehun to die, which is what will happen for being found a traitor holding the certificate. Ko-jong walks in after Tong-moon. Seung-gu aims for him, but Eugene tells him that's enough for today. Can't kill two guys. Sehun tries to tell Ko-jong that he was framed, but Ko-jong won't have it. Kill the traitor. How very satisfying must it be for Eugene? All Sehun's servants take their turn spitting on Sehun's dead body once he dies. Eugene and Ishin meet up to go to Insan's pottery shop. He was going to row the boat, but the river's frozen, so they'll walk side by side. He tells her of Sehun's traitorous self. She does not mourn him. He was pro-Japan. Eugene tells her to be careful on the ice right as he slips. He blames it on the river here. The Hudson isn't as slippery. That's because the Hudson doesn't freeze, okay? It's too large for that. She asks him about his past, and he tells her finally. Before he does, he's like, we're gonna part ways once I tell you. He ran away from his slaver, and she is shocked. He asks whether the shock is coming from a nobleman acting that way, like following a child, or that he was enslaved. Is the Joseon she's trying to protect for the butchers, for the slaves, or just for the noble people? She can't give him an answer, so she walks away from him, but she doesn't make it very far before she collapses in the middle of the river. Eugene helps her back up. And even after that, she thanks him and keeps going. Diabolical evasion. Outside the hotel, some servants rejoice at the news of Sehun's death, so this man was widely disliked. Tong-mi hears the news. It matters little to him, but he remarks that that man's name is going to be in the history books. Tweedledum spreads the news and gossips with the baker about how Sehun's mistress ran off with his gold. The mistress is one hell of a dummy though, because instead of trying to get as far away as possible from Hansong as quickly as possible, she goes to Hina to buy a dress to disguise herself. But Hina is not a girl's girl, and she's never claimed to be one. She tells the mistress to leave the bag of gold with Hina or else. Hina will turn her in, and she'll keep the gold, and the mistress will die. At least with the first option, the mistress stays alive. TBH, I agree with the mistress's logic. She deserved the gold for putting up with Sehun. Wanik gets some acupuncture for his legs and speaks with his assistant. They're teasing out that Sehun's death must have been a trap by Tong-moon. Tong-moon must have needed that in order to get his hands on the certificate. And Wanik is still seething about Seung-gu shooting him years ago. Seung-gu is also thinking about Wanik. He was so ready to kill Ko-jong for abandoning him and his fellow prisoners of war, and the mouthpiece for that had been Wanik. Meanwhile, Ko-jong and Tong-moon, his advisor, speak of a nearing war between Russia and Japan being goaded by the US. Ko-jong wants Eugene to train the royal military. His advisor does not easily say anything about whether they should trust him. He's just not sure what Eugene's motivations are. Hina goes to the now empty home of Sehun. She plans on purchasing it with the same man's money. Ruthless. Tong-moon agrees to make some deals to have the broke government sell it to her. He asks about her dad, but she doesn't have a dad, according to her. Apparently, Tong-moon is the one searching for her mother, but he has been quite unsuccessful. He asks her about Eugene, and she spills all the tea that she has about him, except for the fact that she wants that man. And she points out the political advantage of Eugene. If things turn south, the US will say that he's a Joseon man, and Joseon could say that he's a US man. There's no downsides. Eshin is still ruminating about the question that Eugene asked her, so she goes to Seung-gu to ask him whether the righteous army is for everyone. And instead of telling her that she's a real big dummy like I would have personally done, he tells her everything very calmly. The fact that she's been coming for around 10 years to a man so below her station should be able to answer that question for her about whether the Korea they're trying to save is for everyone. They have to face the facts, though. If anyone learned of what they've been doing, Seung-gu would be charged with breaking laws of morality, since she's a noblewoman. He tells her everything that Eugene has done for the righteous army, which is very emotionally heavy for her. She had no idea how involved he'd been. However, Eugene and Ishin must part ways. I'm not sure if Seung-gu's reasoning is that Eugene knows too much and he doesn't want either of them to get hurt, or if it gets out that Eugene was enslaved, he could face dire consequences for getting with a noblewoman. The maid that's trying to get money from Dongme goes back to search Eugene's room. Hina finds her out and takes her to her office. The maid tries to beg for forgiveness, but Hina's stone cold, and she already knows who is controlling the maid. The maid should have known better than to bite the hand that fed her, and Hina tells her to leave. She's fired. Wanik and the Japanese minister meet in the woods, seemingly in the middle of the night. Wanik is trying to negotiate his way into Minister of Foreign Affairs. He promises to be able to get Japanese banknotes to circulate in Chosun so that they could be used to build some strategic infrastructure. So he gets the man on his side, and the 4 ministers of Ko Jong's government interrupt them. They're there to be convinced to end up on Wanik's side in the Japan-Joseon struggle for power. Notice how I said Wanik's side. That man is playing everyone. Before leaving for the US legation, Eugene talks with Hina about the job posting made outside the hotel. Hina tries to get Eugene to admit that the maid had reason to search his room, but he's unwavering. He's not gonna tell her anything. Eugene gets to his office where he finds Tommy, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to work. Eugene asks him if his sister is still looking for work after the Logan family moved, and tells him to get her to the hotel because they're looking for a maid. And finally, Eugene succumbs. He asks the little boy to teach him how to read and write Korean. He writes out what he remembers Ishin brought to him and asks Tommy to read it. That's when he learns that she went all the way to him to tell him that she missed him. At the palace, every single person except a white man, unsure if he's British, tells Ko Jong to appoint Wanik as the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Ko Jong immediately sees through this and summons Wanik. Ko Jong appoints a different minister to foreign affairs. Wanik, though, he's going to be the Minister of Farming and Trade. He just brought him in to just say, hey, you're not going to get what you want. Wanik is seething. So he sends for the traitor to the righteous army from the beginning of the show to get his revenge. That man is living in an opium den in Manchuria. Dongme goes to his fortune teller. She tells him that what he's wishing for is like asking for rain in a drought. I mean, that seems like a totally reasonable thing to do, but we're supposed to understand that it's hopeless. He's obviously wishing to get with Ishin. He goes to the hotel where Domi's sister is working as the newest maid. He goes up to her, and she remembers him from when she was working at Logan's house, and he ransacked the place. To note, Dongme is starting to wear green, and I don't know what that means for his internal state. He sees her clean and put out to dry a piece of fabric he's seen before. He immediately puts it together that it's where the certificate was hidden. He threatens her to tell him to whom she gave the certificate, but she's no snitch. So he takes her through the streets. She sees Ishin and asks for help. Ishin immediately does it when she realizes against whom she would be defending the girl. Ishin's like, are you always like this, or do I just catch you when you're tormenting others? And she wishes him his own torment. Dongme drags the girl away from her hair when she goes up to Ishin, which prompts Ishin to slap him. He will be thinking about that slap for a while. She asks why he's tormenting a girl. He tells her that thanks to her, he lost a big sum of money. Ishin offers to pay. Dongme's like, yeah, that would work. But for no reason at all, we have to meet again to work out this payment. Boy just wants an excuse to see Ishin again. He's so smug, not because he got her to agree. No, he's smug because she wished him torment instead of death this time. A win is a win. His right-hand man looks suspicious about this whole thing. Ishin talks to the girl and figures out what it is that Dongme was so upset about. She tells the girl not to tell the man who she's trying to protect by keeping the secret that Ishin helped her today. Hisong picks up his suit and is immediately dragged by 2 men to the hotel where Hina knows he's either hurt or about to be, but just keeps going about her day. It's Eugene and Dongme who drag him away. They're working together to keep Ishin safe. Now that Hee-sung has walked around town in the suit, everyone in Hansong will be wearing it in 2 weeks. Hina sits outside the hotel with a cigarette, wondering what the boys see in Ishin over her. Same girl. Kyle and Kwon-soo come back from their trip, getting the geisha on a boat. Kyle has returned with 3 gifts for Tomi and none for Eugene. Eugene actually looks really disappointed by this. Kyle tells Eugene to treat him to chicken soup, and that he does. While they're eating, Eugene realizes that even the restaurant lady is part of the righteous army. The way he does it is really silly though. He's like, Ishin is connected to that guy, and that guy is connected to that other guy, and I saved the geisha, and now the chicken size is larger, so the restaurant must be in on it. Right. Kyle gets drunk and falls on the river. Eugene is amused, but now he has a bad memory associated with the place where he escaped, Chosun. Ishin walking away from him. Ishin makes some pinwheels that she was going to use to signal to Eugene that she was away on a mission, and she looks very sad about it. The drunk boys make it back to the hotel. Eugene's music box is waiting for him, and he knows what that means. Ishin is saying goodbye. Tongmei is always popping sweets, and this time he runs into a mother-son duo who bow before him, and he gives them his candy for the new year. He's such a cutie pie. Hina misses her mom, wonders if she'd even recognize her anymore. Eugene starts his goodbye tour, visiting the graves of the battle and splashing alcohol on the cairns. Eshin's grandpa receives a bunch of men at his home. They're begging him to adopt one of their sons so that his family has male heirs, because apparently his granddaughters and daughter are basically trash in a patriarchal society. Ishin overhears that and goes shooting. She misses the parents that she never got to meet. Eugene requests a transfer to a different country from Kyle. Eugene writes another letter to Joseph. He'd hoped that he would be able to walk hand in hand with Ishin, but he can't anymore, so he's leaving Chosun and won't be able to meet him. When he goes back to the hotel, he finds Ko-jong waiting for him. He's asking Eugene to serve as an instructor for his army. Eugene declines. He's leaving the country. Hina catches this exchange, but before she can let Ko-jong go, he must pay for his bill. He finds this incredibly funny that a woman would be making him pay. Hee-sung has a New Year's meal with his parents, and he entertains himself by making them unnecessarily worried. I mean, I get it. There's not a single conversation with my mother where she doesn't make me feel like the decisions I'm making are going to lead to dismemberment or death. So it's fun to mess with her. Eugene returns to Eunsan. Now they both know who the other is. He asks to stay the night like he did as a child. Eunsan at first turns him down, but Eugene comes clean explicitly and thanks him for saving his life all those years ago. He thinks it's late, but he just wanted to thank Eunsan. Eunsan is like, you have done enough to repay me for my kindness. You've helped out the righteous army, and lets him stay the night. This causes Eugene to start sobbing. Ishin goes back to English school, but she cannot stop thinking about Eugene and how much it hurts that they've said goodbye. On the walk home, they see each other again. They both burst into tears. She asks him to take her somewhere people won't see. Hina catches the scene from the tram that passes between the two of them. Tongmei grabs her hand, which she had extended to touch the snow, and pulls her out. They're so flirty. I like them together. They walk off together. Eugene gives her his gloves because her hands are red from the cold. She apologizes about how she reacted. If she's being honest, she assumed that he was noble as well. She's no better than any other noble. He puts the gloves on her hands and gifts them to her. He tells her not to be too hard on herself. She's making progress, and it's not like she alone can change the systemic oppressions. He asks her to just survive above all. Very dramatic goodbye. Tongmei and Hina catch up on why he got slapped by Ishin earlier. She says he owes it to her for having people in her hotel reporting to him. He tells her that he can't leave her hotel alone now. The new maid is on the opposite side. As soon as she gets to the hotel, a new patron pulls up. His name is Dr. Matsuyama. He's there on Wanig's recommendation to remind Hina that she should be afraid of Wanig. Matsuyama has proof of the real cause of her husband's death. He's going to work at a Chosun hospital where the girl Sehon's shot is being cared for by Tweedledee and Tweedledum. She doesn't know these men, but they're there on Eugene's dime. They go report to Eugene on the state of the girl, but he doesn't really care. He's just doing something that he thought he should. He pays Tomi for being his teacher by giving him some rice taffy. It's very cute. They go to his office to keep practicing, and Tomi quickly takes over when Kwon-soo steps in to make it look like Eugene is not the one learning here. But Kwon-soo sees right through it. He tells Tomi to be stricter with Eugene. Sehon's mistress goes to Wanig to offer herself to him. He is uninterested until she badmouths Hina about the gold. Now, he can't let her live. He calls the police, who take her straight to Hina. She was actually in on it. Hina had sent her there for intel gathering. She wants to know who's there and what is the layout of the home at that time. Eugene goes to drop off some target practice bowls with Sungu. Sungu is like, thanks, our bill is settled. Apparently, some pottery is equivalent to helping a fugitive flee and entrapping a crooked minister. Sungu keeps the hits coming, though. His loyalty is with Ishin. If she wants Sungu to protect Eugene, he'll protect him. But if she wants Sungu to kill Eugene, he'll kill him. Eugene asks what she's chosen, and it looks like she wants to take care of you herself, actually. Eugene asks to test out the rifle he trains with and shoots. The rifle has no recoil, and it's distracting to me. His next stop on his goodbye tour is to take Haman and Haengrang, Ishin's servants, to eat jjajangmyeon. They want to be tight-lipped about Ishin, but they can't help but blame him for how Ishin has been crying into her pillow at night. Eugene is somehow surprised to hear the news, and he tells them to eat the noodles before they swell up. Haman tells Haengrang to wait before they eat so that the food will be more filling, but Eugene is willing to buy them another bowl if they want. I almost cried now that Eugene has the means to be generous with the people who are like how he used to be. He hands them a gift for Ishin. They freak out for a little bit, debating whether they should wait until after she leaves to give it to her. What if it spoils? Ishin goes to class, which is where Hisong finds her. He's wearing her disguise, and she still pretends to be sending them to him. He's like, aren't you curious what I'm up to, why I'm dressed like this? If you are, come meet me at the tram stop. She warns him not to wear it, but he must. She'll see. Now everyone is wearing it. She's not sure if this is a gift or a warning from her fiancé. Dongme walks by the stop and overhears that no one can buy tram tickets right now. Hisong has purchased them all for his special someone. So he waits on the tracks for Hisong to show in the tram. It's forced to stop, so he gets on before Ishin gets there. He threatens Hisong for wearing the suit, but in actuality, he's just a jelly belly that this man is engaged with Ishin. Ishin arrives, and her servants are forced to stay behind while they take a ride around the loop. Haman is disappointed, so now Haengrang knows that Haman wants to ride on the tram. Can't wait to see him take her on the tram one day. The three sit in the tram in awkward silence. Hisong clarifies that he bought all the tickets so that they could be alone. It did not include Dongme. Dongme asks Ishin if she has his money. Hisong hears of this and tells the man in no uncertain terms that Ishin should not be bugged for money as he is the richest man in Chosun. Then why is he pawning stuff to settle his gambling debts? And why do his parents stress about the cost of sending a telegram? Are they implying that they're cheap or that they're keeping up appearances? It's probably the latter, and I'm thinking that they probably are land rich, but they have no one to sell it to, so they do own most of Chosun, but it's not assets that they can liquidate, so they just don't have money. Dongme stops the tram to leave, which causes Hisong, who's standing right behind him, to hug him from the momentum. Ishin is like me because she's doing all she can not to laugh outright. Why can't they all form a polycule? You can't give me this much chemistry for nothing. Hisong sits back down to ask her a bunch of questions. She won't budge, so he makes her an offer I'd have a really hard time refusing. He's like, do whatever you want, just let me be there for you and offer you shelter when you need it. That's exactly the kind of relationship I want. Just take things off my plate. If only he hadn't been already engaged while he was hoeing around in Japan. Ishin concludes that he's being genuine, but obviously she can't take him up on it. They're not endgame. U.S. Minister Allen is back in Joseon. The news immediately makes it to Wonuk. Apparently, Allen was avoiding Ko Jong in Shanghai. Looks like Ko Jong wants his support on something. And not gonna lie, the political intrigue is getting quite convoluted and I am not following along. Wonuk wants his right-hand man to get every interpreter across every legation and inside the palace to report to him. He wants to know what other countries are thinking so he can strategize. Hina is thinking about what Sehun's mistress reported to her, which prompts her to check out her guest book about it. Lee Dok-mun, Wonuk's assistant, was tasked with booking a room at her hotel. The very room that the righteous army trader is using. She doesn't get a good look at his face, but he drops off his keys at the front desk as he leaves. The new Minister of Foreign Affairs is assassinated on a rickshaw. He was an asshole to the man carrying him, so I felt nothing about it. The other ministers convene to discuss and reach the conclusion that they should appoint whomever they suspect to see if he lives or dies. They bring this suggestion to Ko Jong without explaining why, but he gets it. He does not want to give in to Wonuk. Tong-mun tries to volunteer, but Ko Jong needs his main advisor next to him. Another servant goes to Dongme, hoping to get paid for information. He brings news of the righteous army trader without knowing who he is. He's just a suspicious fella. How very Karen of him. He points him out to the Yakuza outside of the hotel so they can follow him, and he gets paid. Dongmae goes inside to go get his name. Hina tries to keep the info private, but he pushes her aside to get the information he wants. Hina whines that this must be about Ishin if he's willing to cast her aside for this. He responds with something along the lines of it being too late for his eyes to stray, so she should stop trying. Ouch. Dogmun brings info to Wonek's breakfast. He confirms that Kojong is trying to send a secret message because, and get this, there's a US-American missionary, Joseph, in Hamgyong province corresponding with Eugene. They intercept a letter, but it's in English, so they can't read it, and once again, someone else is now tasked with searching Eugene's room at the hotel to get more information. Sumi, Tomi's sister, is finishing her rounds handing out fresh towels to the guest. She hesitates at Eugene's door and decides not to knock. When she goes downstairs, she sees that his key is down there, which she tells Hina about. Hina then sends a complimentary beer to the trader's room. It's a Budweiser. Eugene returns when Sumi is coming down with the beer, so Hina hands him a key to room 303. He notices and asks her if it was deliberate. She nods yes. He gets into room 303 and jumps into his room to catch whoever's in there. Presumably the trader, because there was no one in his room to accept the beer. The two of them get into a fight and start shooting. Instead of everyone staying inside, the patrons step out to check it out. This, of course, gives Eugene pause because he can't shoot when there's civilians around. The trader disappears for a flash and comes back with Sumi as a shield. Eugene tells her in English to move to the left, which gives him enough time to shoot the man. He gets the trader to the legation for questioning, but the man is withdrawing from opium, so Eugene leaves him to sweat it out. Hina is questioned. She gives him the name under which the reservation was made, Lee Dok-mun, and his relations. He's a cousin to Chong-moon, Ko-jeon's right-hand man, assistant to Wonek, and S-sun's husband. Eugene cites Dok-mun to the legation. He's not very forthcoming, obviously. He's brought the doctor in Wonek's pocket to treat him since he's going through withdrawals. Hina is crashing out about this doctor thing with proof of the cause of her husband's death and Eugene leaving Chosun. She doesn't do anything rash, but she scares her fencing instructor. Looks like Chong-moon is also part of the Righteous Army because he goes to the Baeksuk restaurant asking the owner that she should message to the other side of the river. He needs to meet with the missionary from Hamgyong sooner than anticipated, and he needs to know what the interpreters are telling Wonek. She shoots an arrow with a yellow piece of cloth tied around it to Eunsan's home. Seung-gu finds that the A-frame worker is gone. He brings the news to Eunsan. He thinks it's Mushin, but Eunsan does not want to act in haste. He wants someone to get the interpreter's reports to Wonek. He doesn't want Seung-gu to do it, though. He's worried that if he were to come across Wonek, he just wouldn't be able to help himself. Ishin goes to change from training and finds Haman fiddling about with the music box that Eugene had left for Ishin. Absolute shock to her system to learn that Eugene is leaving and might already be gone. She grabs the box, seemingly trying to go find Eugene, but is stopped at the sight of Seung-gu. First off, she can't leave dressed like that. Second, they need an extra pair of hands. Will she help? Of course she will. She can't stop the tears, though. Eugene studies the picture he took from the trader. It writes out Ishin's father's name in the back in Japanese, and Eugene can read this. Hangul is really not that much different from the Latin alphabet in terms of learning how to read it. It should not take him long to get it since he's already familiar with the alphabetic writing system. He walks past the apothecary, which catches his eye. Ishin left the red pinwheel there to indicate to him that she's off on a mission. This is happening during a dinner meeting among foreign ministers in Chosun at Dongmae's brothel. Japan and Russia are literally about to start a war with each other. The US minister manages to temper their tempers. Dongmae greets Wonek outside and agrees to send Minister Allen to his room when he steps out to use the restroom. He's also agreed to keep Wonek's guards busy for 30 minutes once he gets to Dongmae's establishment. He owes Hina. Eshin's mission is to get the reports from the interpreters, and Hina's is to find proof of the cause of her husband's death. They find each other at Wonek's home on their missions, and they end up in a fight. In the ruckus, they each take off each other's face covering, dropping a bunch of letters, including the autopsy report of Hina's husband. They trade each other for the items they came for and agree to meet later at the bakery with the sweets in Tingoge. Ishin leaves unscathed, but Hina gets caught by Dogmu walking out of the door. She gets ready for a fight, but Dongmae knocks him out and saves her ass. He takes her to a safer street and tells her to consider his debt paid in double. He actually didn't mean to check in on her. He was just going to a bar to drink the time away until he has his meeting with Ishin. Look, I like the flirting between these two, but the way he manhandles her is nasty. He ends up at the same bar as Eugene. He's disappointed to find him alive after the hotel incident, but he still warns Eugene of Wonnik and Alan, who are right now having drinks together. Wonnik makes it back and realizes what's gone. He knows it's at least partially on Dongme, which is fine by him. He doesn't mind Dongme digging his own grave. He tells Dokmu to stick the traitor in a Chosun jail cell as soon as he leaves the legation. It's safest for them if only Chosun has access to him. Eugene walks home in the rain, deep in thoughts of Ishin. They come across each other, but she walks past him to the apothecary, where she takes out the intercepted letter from Joseph for Eugene that she found at Wonnik's. Eugene asks Kwansu about Wonnik. Kwansu immediately realizes that Wonnik must have been the one who sent Dokmu to fetch the traitor who was supposed to hurt Eugene. However, Eugene doesn't think that he was meant to be killed in that. Kwansu tells him that Wonnik becoming a minister is the same thing as letting Ito in the palace. He's already a minister, but I guess they mean that the foreign affairs position is more important. This is also why the ministers of foreign affairs keep dying left and right. He also lets Eugene know that he's seen the missing posters of Wonnik's first wife. It's Hina who's looking for her, but they don't know why. The women are injured. Hina is impressed that Ishin might be more than what she gave her credit for. Ishin wonders why Hina wanted an autopsy report. She hands the interpreter's reports to Sungu, but she does not tell him what really happened that night. Sungu asks her if she resents him for Eugene, but she doesn't. She knows now that she can't really look back, but she doesn't regret loving him. Eugene interrogates the traitor. He won't answer any questions, which for some reason makes Eugene think that the man feels as if he will face no consequences due to his relationship with Wonnik. Eugene pulls out the photo he'd taken from the traitor to ask him about it. He says some cryptic shit about the two of them in the picture being the death of him. He's clearly afraid and out of it. Minister Allen calls Eugene to his office. He's taken a bribe from Wonnik to let the traitor go, and Eugene tries to fight it, but Allen tells him to drop it and just wait for a transfer. He does what Hina said they'd do. Eugene is Chosun when it suits the U.S. Allen's like, the traitor threatened you, a man from Chosun, not a white U.S. American. The traitor is escorted out, where Dokmu is waiting for him. They return the traitor's belongings except for one thing, the picture of his homies in Japan. He becomes irate, but Dokmu holds him back and has him dragged away. Ishin's palanquin passes by the side of him, getting escorted to jail. She opens her window and locks eyes with him. He immediately realizes who she is and tries to explain himself about her parents, but they've already passed each other. Eugene goes to Hina to ask about her, looking for Wonnik's wife. The truth comes out about her parentage, and she convinces him that she's not loyal to Wonnik. If she was, why would she keep Eugene alive? Ishin and Hina meet at the bakery to eat castella cake and come to an agreement. They shall no longer speak of the night in question. Ishin goes to Eugene. She must ask him to translate Joseph's letter. He tries to ask her personal questions, but she's only business. He tells her what's in the letter and tries to ask her one last question, but she refuses to answer. She starts to head out, but before she leaves, she turns back to ask him why he gave the certificate back to Chosun if he wanted to destroy the country. He did it for her. Hee-sung grabs his granddad's ledger. It seems like he's collecting on debts owed to his grandfather. I think that solidifies that they're land rich but cash poor. So this is just how it goes. He goes to the chief of police and the postmaster. They hate to see him coming. He sits down to eat, but one of the people his grandfather is wronged sees him and dumps his water on the fiancé. The owner of the restaurant is mortified and tells the man that she will no longer be purchasing water from him. He leaves, but Hee-sung asks her a favor. Just keep buying water from him. It's good water. Glad he experiences shame. He dresses so well, too. Maybe I just really like velvet. I just love a man in velvet. Hee-sung heads out after tidying the water dumper stuff. He runs into Eugene, who caught the whole thing. He just asks that Eugene not mention the incident. Hee-sung leaves, but he manages to remain his charming self. I can't believe that man's winning me over. Eugene gets back to the hotel where he finds Dongme rummaging once again in the traitor's room. I'm not sure what he's looking for. Is he looking for the picture or proof of Wonnik's treachery? Eugene volunteers to help, but Dongme is done. Eugene picks up an envelope from Hamgyong where Joseph's at in the room, though. I wonder what that means. At Dongme's brothel, one of his patrons drags a fortune teller by the hair into the street. He's pissed that she wouldn't provide a geisha service. And I'm losing my mind a little here, and I feel like I should say something. We're using the word geisha and courtesan interchangeably, not because I don't know that they're different, but because the show heavily implies that this place is a brothel. I also feel like I remember them using the word courtesan at the beginning of the show, but I didn't make a note of it. Gotta get better at Korean. Anyway, the guards try to get him off her, but this man is arrogant and tells them that he's above their station, so he can do whatever he wants. Tongmei arrives just as it gets real tense. He immediately helps the fortune teller, Hotaru, out and kills the other man who's defending the asshole who wouldn't take no for an answer. The man leaves, but he is still seething. Notice how the Japanese are portrayed as irredeemable hotheads? I wonder why. At a meeting, the ministers try to submit to Japan, but Chongmu won't have it. They want to accept Japanese bills, but Chongmu correctly asserts that they're an infringement on Chosun's autonomy. They say that there's only so much disagreement because they don't have a minister of foreign affairs. Their eyes on Wanik. Wanik's like, why is everyone looking at me, little old me? As long as farming and trade are good, I have nothing to add to the conversation. Eugene eats with Kwansu, and he gets incel on Eshin's dad and uncle. He thinks that they're the same people from the trader's photograph. He then goes to the pawn shop where Tweedledum is obviously spending his money on fashionable clothing. I love that for him. Eugene's there for a rifle, which the Tweedles are willing to get for him at a hefty price. Eugene finds Eshin training. The rifle is a gift for her. He's willing to stay in Chosun for as long as it takes for her to learn how to shoot it. She tells him in no uncertain terms, she's a noblewoman. They cannot be together. But he just wants her back in his life, whatever that looks like. Cute. The color correction is so weird in parts of this scene, though. The man is wearing a navy uniform, but it looks green in the shot. He teaches her how to hold the rifle by getting right up close to her, a classic, and he also teaches her the word sniper in English. Eugene gets back to the office where he tries to startle Domi, but that kid has had a hard life. He won't startle easily. Kyle has good news. He's got permission for a transfer. Anywhere he wants. Eugene asks to see the paper and shoves it entirely in his mouth. The whole thing. But it is only a copy, and Kyle makes him run laps in punishment. Wanik visits his daughter. He's there to threaten her. He can't let her think that the autopsy report is all he had. Dr. Matsuyama is loyal to him. That man can still unveil the truth about her. He finds Eugene on his way out of the hotel, where he pretends to be innocent of the traitor breaking into Eugene's hotel room. Man's got multiple priorities, though. He wants to marry Hina off again, so he asks Eugene if he's married. As soon as Eugene steps inside, Hina wants to know what Wanik said, and he tells her that her father asked whether he was married. I feel like she'd be amenable to this arranged marriage. Hina prepares some hot water for him. He's a stinky boy after the run that Cal made him run. Dongmei visits Jamulpo. He's really going on random side quests to make his date with Ishin come faster. He goes to the temple where Ishin claimed to be on the day that he shot her. He asks the people at the temple if she was there, and they cover for her. They have a cover story, too. She visited her parents' memorial plaques kept at the temple. He kneels before them. He's looking for answers and redemption. He wants to know why Ishin is doing what she's doing. He also confesses that the first person he slashed was her with his words. Poor man knows he's never going to end up with her. That scene was really giving not making it to the end of the show, and I am livid. That's my emotionally unhinged man. Eugene and Ishin have peksuk together, but they have to do it from different rooms. They can't be seen together. Secret romance, baby. They've come up with a new code to communicate with each other. They'll leave notes at the apothecary. They talk about them passing the music box back and forth. She wanted to leave a message, but she knew he couldn't read Korean, so she didn't. He writes her name in the air, and she's like, "You learned?" He only memorized her letters. The man knows how to read Chinese and Japanese. Please be so for real. Reading Korean is much easier than those two. But now that she knows, she'll write to him in Hanja, which is Chinese characters that are in the Korean language. They make some vague plans to see the sunset or sunrise at the sea at some point in the future. They communicate via apothecary with random notes. I really wanted them to be much more deeply romantic letters, but oh well. She brings up wanting to go to the sea again, which makes him sad, since he can't really do that for her, unless Hee-sung really steps up on letting her do whatever she wants. Anyway, Eugene's compromise on the sea is to take her to a sea of grass to watch the sunset. Adorable. So who else thinks that the show will end with the dissolution of the monarchy, which will mean that Ishin and Eugene can be together? And I've said it before, but it bears repeating. If I miss something or say something just wrong, please feel free to let me know. I'm just a guy on the internet without a deep understanding of Korean culture, history, or language. I'm trying my best. And I'm just someone on the internet who likes Korean dramas and is trying to learn the language to be able to watch TV more effectively. As always, rate and follow the podcast. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Bluesky at Koreandramarants or KDrama. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time with part 4 of Mr. Sunshine. Bye!